Hello guys, my name is SolarTz. Welcome back to another video, and today I want to discuss how RWBY failed the White Fang. With that being said, let's just get directly into the video. So at the beginning, Ghira was in charge of the White Fang. People like Adam, Ilya, and Sienna later joined. After Ghira stepped down, Sienna took over as leader, and people like Blake, Ilya, and Adam stayed despite the violence that was going around. After about 5 years of contributing to robberies, bombings, maybe potential killings, Blake runs away. Pause. Now let me just talk about this really quickly and let me drop the calm voice. Blake contributed to 5 years of robberies, bombings, potential killings, and bigotry. Even if you don't want to say she would never bomb somebody, she would never bomb a store, or la-di-da-di-da, she would never kill innocent people. We did know she was out here robbing. We did know she was out here on stealth missions. And you're telling me she did this for 5 years and then joined Beacon? Like, how did people just let her get away with this? And like, even as a character, right? Like, let's keep it a beam. Your father Ghira, which was the leader of the White Fang, stepped down and he has like no connections to the White Fang anymore. Like, I would think that once you're a leader of something, even if you step down, you still have ties and or connections to that thing, at least a little bit. You still have a little bit of power to come back or say something. You telling me for 5 years, as the White Fang was being known as a terrorist organization because it went from peace to terrorist, you telling me he didn't contact Blake not once? You didn't see like him contact anybody to say, hey Blake, I remember you still in the White Fang. What's going on over there? They never had a talk. He never stepped in. He never attempted to. Like, it's pretty crazy to think about. Not to mention, it's not like Blake seen this bad stuff happening and said, yeah, all right, I'm gone. You telling me she contributed 5 years to this and then decided to leave? Okay, hero. After these events, Cinder ended up approaching the White Fang and Adam, convincing them to join her grand plan. And now I have to pause once more. So you're telling me Adam joined because she promised resources and probably a I'll beat your ass. Understandable. But did Adam even know about Salem at this point? Like, we don't know if he knew, because if characters like Roman Torchwick just were tagging along because he didn't want to get his ass beat, is Adam also on that same principle of like, damn bro, I'm not about to get bitched out here, so fuck it, I guess we working with a human? Because he was very adamant on like not joining until she was like, yeah, I got resources, I got this, and I beat your ass. Was it the resources or was it whatever? Anyways, why did Cinder approach Adam when he ain't even the leader of the White Fang? Remember, he's not the leader of the White Fang at this current moment. He probably has high power, but it's not even stated he's like a second in command. He oversees everything. At this point, all we know Adam is big, strong guy that has some sort of power in the White Fang. That's it. And it's not to say it's bad that Cinder approached Adam, because at the end of the day, the plan still worked, so congratulations. But the mindset behind it is, why did you approach Adam when they aren't the leader of the White Fang? If you're trying to get hold of the White Fang, why did you just not talk to Sienna? You also have to think about it like this. Sienna is much more kinder, at least when it comes to hearing people out, than Adam is. Why did you just not approach Sienna? She's the leader. You'll have a better time talking to her and convincing her than doing this shit with Adam. And speaking of Sienna, why didn't she stop any of this or attempt to when you think about it? Remember, Adam's not a leader. And as she stated, she's not interested in going to a war with humans that she feels like she's going to lose. At the end of the day, Sienna does all of these acts of violence as a way to demand respect. Hey, you said we got segregated bathrooms, everybody air that bitch out. I understand she's not a good person, and I understand she does violence a lot, but Adam does violence as a way to dominate and be like, fuck all y'all. She does violence in a way of saying, I dislike y'all, however, we just want to be treated fairly, bro. So like, treat us fairly. And you're telling me Sienna didn't see all of this and question, damn Adam, if I sent you on this mission, the fuck are we doing this for? Is this demanding respect? Is this, what is this doing for us? And when you really think about it, does the White Fang even need to be attacking Beacon Academy? I mean, sure, Cinder may fuck them up regardless, so yay. But they don't even have beef with a lot of people in Beacon. The only person you could say you got beef with is like Weiss. In my opinion, it just doesn't make sense. Sienna should have have like checked in on this, maybe, you know, confronted this, tried to stop the communication, stop the cooperation, or if Sienna was on board with this, Adam did not need to be the leading like enforcer to all of this when you think about it. If he was, he would have been assigned the role or wanted to take on the role because Blake is there. But besides that, it would make more sense for Sienna to be there, especially when she's the leader and she's leading her people to fight for a human. And I don't know, it's a bit of a missed opportunity when you think about it. I would have loved to see like Sienna's vibe and like Roman's vibe in a room, because Roman is just openly racist and that shit's hilarious in my opinion. But like you have somebody like Sienna who's not gonna stand for it, but like in my opinion they're both smart, they both have a decent amount of power, they're both, I wouldn't say full of themselves, but I think they're sort of similar but not really super similar, and I think those two characters interacting in a room together would be kind of hilarious. So after the fall of Beacon, Sienna dies. And now, let's talk about all of this. Now, remember all the stuff I said beforehand about Sienna and all that? If you watched RWBY the regular way and didn't have hindsight, Sienna shows up here in Volume 5 and dies in Volume 5. She has about, I think, 2 or 3 scenes, maybe less. And before anybody comes out of here and says, oh, well, they have the Adam character short. How many people watched that Adam character short? Because let me tell you, after the GOAT passed away, people stopped watching them trailers, at least like that. I think the only other ones was like the RWBY one and the Weiss one, and I think those were for like Volume 4 or 5. And that's because RWBY was coming back and there was a lot of expectation built on RWBY and how it looks and how it graphically improves. Besides that, how many people cared about that Adam trailer? Not many. I know people who've been watching RWBY for years and don't even know that bitch existed. So to see Sienna, S tier character by the way, oh my god, fucking amazing design. But to see Sienna, not hear too much about Sienna, because they deadass don't even be saying her name, but to see Sienna realize, oh wait, she's the leader of the White Fang, she's the person that's been organizing all this. To see her, see what she stands for and her principles, and then to see her die practically right after, kind of crazy. And the shit that sucks with her isn't because she just died, it's how she died. Adam practically walked in that bitch, said, I own this, I run this, who go stop me? Murked her, and her people was like, hey, he the boss now. Yeah, on baby. And it's kind of just weird. Sure, if you wanted to attain a reaching foul, then yeah, you can probably say, well, maybe half of the White Fang really liked it Sienna and maybe the other half really liked it Adam, or maybe the White Fang got confused on who's really the leader and the morals of the group because we're all violent and we just attribute violence to everything and we're gonna attribute that to domination now, or maybe Adam is taking charge of us in the background, in the depths. These are reaching fouls. We don't see this, and yes, you can think about those things, but we're never shown that, nor is it implied. All we see is Adam walk in this bitch, murk her, and has more respect than her in that room, which at least feels like it shows me that either A, she wasn't commanding shit, or B, these White Fang people ain't standing on anything. And that's kind of weird, in my personal opinion, when you've been constructing violence for 5 years and the White Fang have been following your instructions for 5 years and people are seemingly liking the approach, by the way, and then they're just like, all right, well, fuck it, she died, and like nobody goes into like thinking about her death. Remember, like, this is a crazy person. You gotta think, this is a big person that just died who commands this group, and Adam is just like, yeah, tell the people she died due to a human huntsman. They didn't identify this human huntsman. There's no DNA, there's no blood. Nobody even thought to check for her body, the wounds, what weapon could have been inflicted. Nobody out here checked Adam. Nobody had cameras, recordings, anything. It's kind of crazy. It's kind of crazy that Adam could just walk in here and become leader just like that. Like, if it was so easy for Adam to do, why didn't other people just do it? Not to mention, she didn't even get like a cool fight scene. Like, we already didn't know too much about this character. We found out she was the leader, and then boom, she's taken away from us like that, which is very disappointing. But it's also like, okay, cool, sure, if you want to play that that route, let's play that route. But at least give her a character. And if you're not going to give her a character, at least give her a cool fight scene. She didn't even get that. It was just quick impalement, fucking pull out, and then have her fall down the stairs and GG. And now that Adam is leader, he's like, yeah, bro, bring Blake to me alive and kill her entire family. And then we're gonna also bomb Haven. Understandable. Cool. So we're gonna go do that. Tell me why Ghira wants to help now. You're telling me Ghira wants to help when his daughter's life is on the line and is like, yeah, let me stand up. Let me do this. Let me do that. Let me take charge. Let me show you how I did this back in my heyday. You telling me he want to do all of this now that Sienna is gone? And before anybody says, well, yeah, you just said his daughter's life was on the line. She was in the White Fang for 5 years promoting violence, participating in violent crimes. He knew about the White Fang. The White Fang is popular. No way niggas in Menagerie not talking about this. That's like being from Chicago, watching the NBA, and not knowing what the Chicago Bulls is. It just don't make sense. It don't. So he knew. He should have known. It would be logical to know and keep tabs on the White Fang and see how it goes. And also know what your daughter is doing. You telling me he didn't want to step in for any of those 5 years? You telling me you decided to step up when Adam is the issue? Like I said, you can at least try to converse with Sienna. You telling me you want to step up when you can't reason with Adam? Okay, bro. So after Adam fails, he pulls a TK, hits the race, and goes after Blake again. Tries to fight Blake, is beating her ass, runs into Yang. Yang fights him. Now he's getting 2v1 with 2 girls that have PTSD. He has the manipulation advantage. He loses his weapon and apparently can't box without it. He dies. He gets stabbed in perfect spit roasting motion, falls off the edge, and Ghira takes a hold of the White Fang again and comes out of retirement. Okay, so let me just sit here and rewind that a little bit. Adam can't fight without his weapon. This man is RWBY. You're telling me somebody who's like, what, 22 maybe? Like probably around that age, 22, 21. You're telling me he can't fight without his weapon? And even then, fight with your sheath. You have fought with your sheath before. You have the sheath, and before anybody says, well, it doesn't do the same amount of damage as the sword. I understand that. However, it's still better to use your sheath than use your bare hands, because 1, at least you have the range. 2, it's still like using a sword somewhat. And 3, you could have still knocked them off the edge. I don't care what you gotta do. At the end of the day, you got 2 girls out here trying to fight you and kill you. If you don't spike one of them off the ledge like this is Smash Bros. Furthermore, you're telling me Adam lost this fight when both girls are being manipulated and both girls have PTSD. Before anyone says they overcame their PTSD, he got Yang to start shaking with 1 line. Bro, I would have been throwing insults after every attack. Yeah, I'm about to piss you off to the point where you make a mistake and I'm gonna take advantage. And I know people like to come out here and say, well, Adam isn't that strong because Adam was cheesing against robots. That's all we've seen him do. But it's the display of power. It's the display of arrogance. It's the aura, and not aura in the fucking TikTok way, but it's the show of strength that they portray with this individual. If we had a tier list from my perceived idea, I would think Adam wouldn't even be able to beat someone like Neo. So let's say the power and fighting structure is this: Cinder, Neo, Adam, Mercury, Emerald, and then like whatever. And if you really wanted to, you could probably put Roman above Mercury. And we've never seen these 2 characters fight, so we don't know, but let's say Neo versus Crow. Who wins that fight? In my personal opinion, I would think Crow wins that. However, I would think that it would be a lot closer. And if Crow doesn't win that and Crow actually loses that fight, I think Neo barely wins that. You're telling me Adam lost? Kinda insane to think about. And it's a little bit weird too when you think about that fight. Adam was destroying Blake, didn't take much damage. Fought Yang, didn't take much damage. She got a couple good hits in and his aura just kind of broke. And even Yang stated he don't gotta take the damage. Like, she's hitting the sword most of the time, so it's really just his semblant. How did you lose this, bro? Either you're one of the worst fighters ever, it was a off day, or the writing just not writing. And maybe it could be all 3, or maybe you just asked, but Adam, take off that mask. You need to go. But no, in all seriousness, after Adam died, Ghira decides to take up the White Fang once more, rebuild it, turn it back into a peace organization. And I have to say this once more. Ghira, why didn't you do this 5 years ago? If you were gonna sit here and hang up your jersey, why did you hang up the jersey in the first place if you were gonna come back 5 years later to reclaim it? You put down the jersey, left it in the hands of Sienna. Sure. Why didn't you talk to her, negotiate with her, make things more peaceful? You waited for her to die. You waited for Adam to die, and then you picked up that spot again. At this point, in my personal opinion, you could have just stayed leader. Who was gonna stop you? I mean, Sienna may have not liked it, but I don't think Sienna was gonna kill you. And I don't think Adam could kill Ghira without Sienna trying to stop him and her knowing it's coming. So what happened here? Like, Ghira, you could have stayed unretired and kept helping the White Fang. You could have did so much, and you didn't. Anyways, that's the history of the White Fang, and that's kind of just how I feel like RWBY failed the White Fang. There are many things that were just wrong here. Even just the displays of White Fang that I didn't even go deep into. But like, the displays of White Fang, we don't see Faunus getting demeaned like that throughout the series. Yeah, we have some moments like Hardin grabbing Velvet's ears, or Blake and Weiss being racist, or things of that nature. We have Roman also giving outside racist comments. I understand it. We have seen some things of that. We've seen some Faunus in cages. We've seen some things in Atlas. I'm not saying it doesn't exist in RWBY. I'm saying it wasn't highlighted or shown in that big of a way, at least towards the latter half of RWBY. In the beginning, I felt like they were trying to show it, they were sprinkling it in, and it was pretty obvious what they were going for. Towards down the line, it felt like we stopped getting stuff about Faunus, and if they did, they just like showed barely it on the screen but didn't focus on it or talk about it. And this is the issue with the White Fang or just racism in RWBY. It's just not handled well. I understand the thoughts, I understand the idea, I understand what you were going for, but the execution on a lot of these points fell flat, and that's the biggest issue. Would I have loved more to happen? Of course. Did it? No. Does that suck? Yes. Anyways, I love you guys. I'll see you guys in the next video, and yeah, hit the like button, subscribe, do all that, and peace.